The Justice for Women Foundation presents its 7-part Emotional Intelligence series. Held in 2021, it was facilitated by Ms. Rochelle Mohammed and Ms. Tamika Mongo. The agenda for day 1 is as follows: welcome remarks, introduction of presenters, who is the Justice for Women Foundation, purpose of the Emotional Intelligence series, duration of the series, what is emotional intelligence, the importance of emotional intelligence, components of emotional intelligence, question and answer, and closing remarks. So, welcome to day 1 of our Emotional Intelligence series.
Afternoon. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I am Rochelle, and I have with me Mr. Mika. She's one of our exec members, and she will be joining me for the next 7 sessions in delivering what is emotional intelligence and the competences of emotional intelligence. So I will allow Tamika to introduce herself, and we'll take it from there this afternoon. To the persons, quick note to the persons who would have registered via the form, at the end of every session, literature would be sent to your email as pertaining to what was discussed in this session. So, Tamika,
So, hi, good evening, everybody, all viewers, listeners. Thank you for joining us together with the Justice for Women Foundation for this emotional intelligence series. You're probably wondering what them know about it, emotional intelligence, or at least what Rochelle and I knows about emotional intelligence. So, once again, my name is Tamika Mongo. I am a healthcare professional. I am also an HR professional with an MBA in health management. And apart from all of that, a lot of things we would have focused on is like organizational behavior, and emotional intelligence is one of it. And I would have done a specific courses on emotional intelligence in trying to get employees and understanding employees in organizations. And apart from that, due to that, actually, I decided to go on to life coaching. So I have my certificate in life coaching, and I'm currently with the John Maxwell team doing coaching as well. So that's basically my qualifications here in terms of learning about emotional intelligence and being able to teach you all and for you all to understand a little bit better about yourselves and how to deal with others. Rochelle?
thank you, Tamika. Thank you again. So we have a panel of two people who's pretty much qualified to deliver the information that we have. And of course, it's a learning experience for us both. So if anybody out there with the expertise would like to add to our contributions or make suggestions, we welcome those as well. Um, we have a PowerPoint presentation that will take us through the next 30 minutes of what we are tackling today. Could the PowerPoint be loaded, please? So this slide indicates Justice for Women Foundation presents Emotional Intelligence, the series. Today's agenda, and I will read, and the other slide, Tamika will read it and give you the insight to what that slide has as well. So today's agenda part, there are two parts. Part one, the introductory, information, welcome remarks, introduction of presenters, who is the Justice for Women Foundation, purpose of Emotional Intelligence series, duration of the series, part two, the introduction of emotional intelligence. What is emotional intelligence? The importance of emotional intelligence, components of emotional intelligence, questions and answers, closing remarks.
And we basically did this part already. We introduced ourselves, so you could move on. I actually stuck this part in here because some persons were asking who is the Justice for Women Foundation. Rochelle, you wanna elaborate a little more? We don't have to read everything on the slide, but they wanted to know what are we about.
Okay, so for the persons who don't know, the Justice for Women Foundation is an NGO group that was birthed by the vision of Thea Adams, who became compassionate and passionate about providing resources and support system for women, girls, and by extension, men in society in changing the fabric of domestic violence and the influences of domestic violence that we are faced with. We have an exec board with a vast amount of different personalities, different qualifications, and different fields of expertise that would aid in us providing such services to changing the lives of women in Trinidad and Tobago, and by extension, the Caribbean and the world as we grow as a foundation.
We could pass all of that. So basically, you're all probably wondering why we choose to do Emotional Intelligence as a series, a 7 week series. And Rochelle is going to elaborate a bit further on what birthed this particular series.
Okay, so the purpose of this particular series would have come thereafter we did the series on mental health awareness. And based on the feedback that I would have gotten during that uh, presentation over the period of the 5 weeks, I believe that we covered the program, I became aware based on the communication that was extended how much we lack in understanding our situations and understanding our response to persons and understanding persons' responses to us. So I started thinking of what we can do as a foundation with the resources that we have to bridge the gap, to put information out there and enlighten others to the resources that we have that will be able to improve their lives. So at the end of the objective, at the end of the 7 week series, is so that you, the public, who is privy to this information, would be aware of what and be able to identify, not just aware, but be able to identify the components sorry, of each area of emotional intelligence and how that contributes to your personality and your interaction with others.
So basically, it's the next 7 weeks. The dates are there. So today is the starting series, which is the 17th. And then we are going straight until the end of August. And that will give us 7 weeks of the series. So today's session is an introductory session, and it's going to be really brief today. And we're just going to get in like what is emotional intelligence and what it's basically about. It has specific components of emotional intelligence that we'll be going in depth in the next few weeks. Rochelle, anything to say there?
So, what is emotional intelligence? By definition, emotional intelligence is our learned ability to identify, understand, and manage our emotions and those of others. What is emotional intelligence about? It's knowing how you feel about others, knowing how you feel about yourself in a particular situation, knowing how others feel about you, and using those emotional skills that you would be able to maximize your well being, the happiness, and how that happiness comes from you as an individual and the impact it have on other people and how other people's happiness, sadness, or any other of those emotions would impact you as an individual. So it's basically learning how to manage your emotions in different situations, how to be aware and how to articulate your feelings and responses in a responsible manner and how to properly manage what is mirrored back to you by others.
So some persons probably wondering where the word emotional intelligence came from, and it's actually a psychological theory that was developed by Peter Savely and John Mayer. And they said emotional intelligence is the ability to perceive emotions, to access and generate emotions so as to assist thought, to understand emotions and emotional knowledge, and to reflectively regulate emotions so as to promote emotional and intellectual growth. This is basically like the technical term to what Rochelle explained so lovely in layman terms what emotional intelligence is about. Right? Next slide, Rochelle. And this is another definition of emotional intelligence because if you Google, you will see millions of definitions saying the same thing. And this one says emotional intelligence is the ability to identify our own emotions and those of others, to self motivate ourselves, and how to monitor our emotions and those of the people around us. And if you notice, there are four circles there that make up emotional intelligence: perceiving emotions, understanding emotions, using emotions, and managing emotions. And this is basically what this program is going to help you do. Perceive your emotions, have a little more understanding about your emotions, how to use your emotions appropriately, and to manage these in our day to day lives. Rochelle?
The importance of emotional intelligence. A lot of people ask, why is it so important? It is important in the sense that our emotions is responsible for how we behave, how we interact with others, how well we articulate ourselves through the responses of emotions in a particular situation. And the importance of such, of having a well-rounded awareness of your emotional intelligence is so that you could better be able to understand how to react and how to manage the reaction of others so that it does not affect you negatively and you're able to process the way you manage those things that are mirrored to you and how you mirror yourself as others and have others mirrored back to you. Understanding your emotions will improve your relationships, whether it be professional, platonic, uh, sexual, in terms of marriage and friendship. Understanding your levels, your triggers, and understanding your self awareness will be able to better equip you and how you respond. The more prominent factors of the importance of emotional intelligence is being able to identify yourself, being self aware, your social awareness, how you interact with others, how others interact with you, your self management, how you manage your goals, how you manage your transparency, how you manage initiatives, how you manage your self control, social awareness, relationship management. In terms of relationship management, how your development is with others, your leadership skills, what areas you would be able to work on, what areas you need improvements on, your how you manage conflict, what skills you need to develop in conflict management, and what skills you need to improve on in conflict management so that you're presented well, and what influences, more importantly, what influences you would have when you're able to properly articulate yourself in a situation.
So there are many different components of emotional intelligence, and it has two categories more or less: how we deal with self, and then how we deal with others. And you would see it's broken down in three under self and three under others. And that's basically what we'll be going through for the next 6 weeks. So, under self, we have self awareness, self management, and self motivation. And under others, you have empathy, social awareness, and relationship management. So that's basically it. Today was just an introduction. What is emotional intelligence? And Rochelle, you could come back to the 6 components. Thanks. Or Tia. Right. So this is basically what we are going to concentrate on for the next few weeks. These components of emotional intelligence. So I said I really want you all to take note of it. If you're listening, if you're writing, for all those that I'm seeing on the live right now, the importance of managing our emotions. And I know people like to break down words like, okay, it's emotional intelligence. So what is emotional and what is intelligence? So it's basically being able to have the ability to manage our emotions. And it's the emotions within ourselves and how we deal with others. Rosha?
Great. So I think we would have covered all that we had to cover for this afternoon's presentation. And like I would have mentioned before, for the persons who would have registered via the forms, by the end of next week, before the next session starts, whatever was discussed in this session, the literature of it will be emailed to you for your keepsake or for your referrals for any further need that you may have to go through it. I want to thank Tamika for her excellent job in assisting with this series. And I want to thank Thea for giving us the opportunity to give back in terms of knowledge what we know and how we could probably be of some great influence in changing somebody's way of thinking, how they act, and influencing them in a positive manner. I'm not sure if we have any questions on the feed. If we do,
I just saw
Tamika
that
and I
Asha
will be
said
willing to.
great discussion. So thank you, Asha, for listening. I'm seeing several persons on, but like they're shy to give some questions. Rochelle, I don't know if you had any expectations that persons had from the forms, the registration forms. What did they expect out of the program?
Most people that would have sent in forms, their expectation is getting a greater understanding of what emotional intelligence is and how it would benefit them in their day-to-day lives. And that is the purpose of this series. It's so that at the end of the 7 week period, you'll be in a better position to properly manage your emotions and the feedback of emotions from others as well.
That's great. So basically, we're not going to take much of your time every Saturday. We'll be about 15 to half an hour each Saturday, so long, depending on how the questions go. But we just want to have your thinking. What am I really contributing towards my own emotions? And how do I transmit that to others? Right? Now, another name for emotional intelligence, you would see EQ, which is emotional quotient, which is almost like the opposite of IQ, right? So taking this in mind, I think for the next week you all should go and do a little bit of research and really think about my relationship with those around me. Do I and you could also think about yourself. Do I feel depressed? Do I feel anxious when something is going to happen? How do I manage my emotions when I'm afraid? How do I manage my emotions when I'm happy? How do I manage my emotions with those in the house around me when I'm angry? Do I lash out at others? Do I draw to myself? These are things that you need to think about. And then how do are your coping mechanisms in different situations? And then you have to look at your peer groups, your friends, your workplace, the church that you attend to, what other groups, how do you interact with these persons? And all of that, you do these interactions stem from your level of emotional intelligence.
Great. So if do we have any further questions? Anybody else inquiring about anything that we need to address?
Checking for the questions. Seems like no questions at this time. Oh, okay. So everyone feel free to register. So Atia was just encouraging everybody to feel free to register. You can register at any time. And she said that we are now finding more importance in EQ, which is true. And that is why I would have mentioned that it was discovered. At least the importance of it was discovered. Rosha?
Okay. So if we have hi, sorry, I think my connection broke for a second. Um, Thea, I know she's in the back and she always has questions. So, Thea, do you have any questions or do you want to address our audience before we wrap up today's session?
Hi everyone. So first of all, let me say that this is one of those series that I'm really excited about. And I am excited because more and more you're seeing a lot of emphasis placed on EQ when compared to IQ, because long time it was, I everybody was focused on that. But you're seeing now your ability to manage your emotions is so important, and it easily ties back to domestic violence and what we as an organization. So I'm really excited. I'm really happy that these ladies decided to do this series, because I think we're going to benefit a lot from it. So I'm really excited.
Once again, Thea, thank you for allowing us the opportunity to give back in terms of knowledge. And I want to thank again Tamika for coming on board to present this series and all the resources and information that she would be sharing with us as well. So that is it from me. I will go back through the forms that were filled out, and by the end of next week, correspondence would be sent with regards to what was discussed today. And so it will follow for the next 6 weeks. So thank you everyone for joining us. Those are my closing remarks. Tamika.
I would like to thank Rochelle for having me together with her to do this series. And once again, Atia for having us, for having the confidence in us to keep this series on. And we want to thank all of the viewers. You all could bring a friend next week, because you'll understand just how important emotional intelligence translates to what is some of the social ills, the lack of emotional intelligence, as Atia would have mentioned, for example, domestic violence, different forms of abuse that exists stems from the fact of the lack of management of our emotions and the level of emotional intelligence. So I hope you all could place some importance on learning. So take a little time out on a Saturday to learn a little bit more on emotional intelligence. And that's it from me.
Have a good evening, everyone, and thanks again for joining us. We see you next week, Saturday, around the same.
Thank you.